Good day to you. We know our nation is in a big spot of trouble. Few signs of relief are also there. So when do nations need a message of rebuke, and when can it become a message of comfort? Because we find everybody is rebuking everybody, castigating, and sometimes the balm of redemption is more costly than the adrenaline of castigation. So everybody gets on to say how wrong someone else was. But what about a solution where it is personally costly for you? You risk your reputation, your name and your future and so on. So here is a message: comfort, comfort my people. Speak kindly to your city or to your nation. Call out to her that her warfare has ended. Now, can we call out to our nation and say your warfare is ended? Or do we expect more warfare, more trouble, more antagonism? Can we, who will rise to say your warfare has ended? And can we say it meaningfully, without placating, without flattering, without assuming your warfare has ended? Or are we going to say, no, you have to go through some more struggle and some more trouble? And who will say your iniquity has been removed? Iniquity is crookedness. Transgression is violating a known just law. Trespass is trespassing into someone else's rights and territory. And going astray is another expression. Missing the mark is yet another expression. So these are expressions of human failure. So she has... this is what, then what happens after that? There is a clear highway that is being made through difficult terrain. Who will pay the sacrifice for this? Then in the Lord's Prayer, the Good Shepherd taught us to say, Our Father who is in heaven, which means acknowledging God's common fatherhood for all, high and low, those who did well, those who did ill, those who did crookedly, those who did rightly, for all. It is just like a son who goes astray and a son who says true. So we know the great story about the prodigal son who went away saying, I can do it my way. He insisted that his father gives him his inheritance, and the father had to give him the inheritance. And it was taken away, and he took it away and he squandered, and he came into poverty. Then he returns home, and father wants to receive him. But the elder son says, why are you receiving this rascal who ruined your name, who wasted your reputation and your money with prostitutes? How did he know that? But father said, no. Once he was lost, now he is found. On that is based that well-known hymn, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found, was blind, but now I see. So it is the father who received that smelly, stinking prodigal son who came out of the pigsty. And in the New Guinea culture, there are two examples that are worth looking at. One, in New Guinea, in days gone by, tribes were always at tribal warfare, murdering each other. But when two tribes are calling for peace or truce, so who would call a truce in a conflict? Generally the weaker party. The stronger party does not call for truce. They will go for death, fight to the death. But the weaker tribe will call for truce, and what he does is, he gives one of his own children over to the other tribe. And the other tribe may accept the child or may kill the child. So the child came, this true anthropology, the child came to be called the peace child. If the other tribe would accept the child to bring up as their own, then there's truce made. So this tells us that there was a Prince of Peace who came to Bethlehem as a little child to make peace for us all. That's the great Christmas story. Then in the same culture, that is this tribal culture, there was this where the next contestant for kingship, one who thinks he can be king again, next king, he has to find a way of dispossessing or dislodging the present king through the most devious, murderous, brutal, conspiratorial way. Then everybody says, that chap did it so brilliantly. Of course, it's wicked brilliance. He can be our king to protect us against other tribes. That's how the next king is chosen, by eliminating the present king by devious means. They took the gospel story and said how good shepherd, what a good shepherd Jesus Christ was, and how the crucifixion story, how Judas, one of his 12, betrayed him. At that point, the whole tribe got up and cheered, saying, Judas, great, Judas is great. And these people had never heard a thing like that, someone cheering for Judas, because in their own culture, next king, would-be king, tries to be Judas and get rid of the present king. And in elephant culture also there is a thing like that. The tusker, who feels it's time for him to challenge the present king tusker, he with his tusk, he marks the trees on his passage higher than the present king, which means I am taller than you. Then the present king has to invite him for a duel, and then if the new king chases off the present king, then he's in isolation, he has to leave the herd and go for some time till the new king is established. So that's supposed to be elephant culture. So human beings also behave like this. Who will say the warfare is ended? So in the Lord's Prayer, we were taught this to say, give us this day our daily bread. Because Good Shepherd, our Father in heaven, envisaged that everybody is part of his family, so we are to share even our daily bread. That's why we were taught to pray, give us our daily bread and forgive us our debts as we forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. So this thing of debt, this debt is about debt of grudge or debt of what I owe. So we are reminded that we first owe God because we enjoyed his benefits and we completely ignored and did our own thing. So our debt of gratitude is first to God. Then there are debts others hold against us for whatever reason. Then the Good Shepherd said, bless them that curse you, do good to them that despitefully use you, pray for them that persecute you. But the principle is, those who hold debts against us, they demand a pound of flesh. You know where that comes from. That's from Merchant of Venice. The Shylock demanded a pound of flesh. He said, I demand a pound of flesh. Then Portia came to his rescue, came to the rescue of Antonio and said, then exactly the pound, nothing more, nothing less. And he was exonerated. So those who extracted debt from us, then we have to apologize to them. If restitution is to be done, we have to do restitution to them because they hold a debt against us. They feel we owe them. Thirdly, we may feel others owe us and we hold that debt. You don't get rich on other people's debt, isn't it? So 3 ways that this goes wrong. Then third thing is, deliver us from temptations. So we get into things that are not good for us, not good for our family. And usually about temptations, when it is done by someone else, it's wrong. When it's done by us, it's okay. That's how the human psyche works. Lastly, the Good Shepherd said there's an evil one. So that prayer says, deliver us from the evil one also. This is a little thought. And I have often thought of this story about Ben Carson, how he was from a very poor family. And one day his father was not returning home. He did not know that. He was waiting for the father to return. Ben Carson became the best known pediatric neurosurgeon in the world, Johns Hopkins Medical University, and he became the Secretary of Housing for the cabinet of President Trump. How did that happen? Ben Carson was only 7 years old. That day his father didn't come home. He was waiting on the doorstep of a very poor house. It was quite dark. Mom said, son, dad is not coming home. Because mom could not say he has gone with another woman. So they lost their house. They couldn't pay for it. They went to a tenement. It was terrible. He remembers cockroaches and rats all over. But his mother was a praying lady. She prayed through. And this son was very good at studies. Then it came to the university entrance examination. He was weak in chemistry. And day before the chemistry paper, he has a dream. In that dream, a tutorial is worked out with chemistry problems, and next day he goes for the exam. What do you think? The results comes. He gets very high marks even for chemistry, and he applies to Johns Hopkins University, where not a single black student had been taken in, because no black student could get the kind of marks that are required to enter Johns Hopkins. It is a famous university, but Ben Carson becomes the first student to enter Johns Hopkins because his mother's prayers. In fact, his mother used to earn a little more by doing janitorial work in supermarkets with dirty toilets, dirty washrooms. They paid higher if you wash dirty toilets in supermarkets. That's how that lady earned. But the son became a brilliant surgeon, world famous. So when he took up the Secretary of State, Secretary of Housing, he said, this is because of my background. I know all about bad housing. What a redeemed life, isn't it? So I ask again, in the trouble in our country, will you consider that the balm of redemption that we have to produce may be more costly than the adrenaline of castigation, where we vent our feelings and wrath and disappointment and frustration on others. As a good shepherd can help us in this, we need to receive him into our heart, and he makes a path of righteousness through all life circumstances, good ones, bad ones, a straight path. And he promises to anoint our head with oil, and he promises he will fill our cup to overflowing, and he chooses the table of our life, how much portion we will have under our hand for good stewardship, and who are the people who will be connected with us, our place, purpose and position in life. This is what Good Shepherd can do for us. Thank you for listening. We will meet again.